Tom?
Yes, it's on now.
Okay, so the people on the podcast can hear me now, Tom?
We're now live.
So now we're only partly grateful for Playtech?
I mean, it was, thanks. Okay, let's start that again. Hi, everybody, and if you missed the start of this because there was no audio, that's Tom's fault. And we're in the Playtech studio that apparently only sometimes has audio.
And only when you turn on the mixer.
You got to turn on the mixer. Yeah, cool. Is that on now?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's been a minute since we've done a podcast. Obviously, there's been a lot going on in the last couple of months, and we're just getting our shit together and getting back into it. And did I say thanks to Playtech? Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Cool. And Kelvin's here today because we went today to the Cooney Hot Rod show, and as you can see, because I'm beautifully tanned. Well, at least this camera I look tanned and not like.
You just look white.
Well, thank you. I was going for tan, but that's fine. But yeah, no, it's just Kelvin's up, and we thought, hey, let's have a yarn, because a couple of the articles that you've put up on the website have done really well, and people have been really engaged with it. Thanks, Tom. Bye, Tom.
If you have any issues.
What? Any issues? Give you a call. Yeah. Or just watch the stream, and then you'll know if we've got issues.
Preempt the issues. Yeah.
Don't be on your phone while driving. And I thought we'd just get back into it. And Kelvin was here, so let's get stuck into it.
All right.
I think one of the things that I wanted to touch on first was something that's obviously I'm very passionate about, that you wrote an article about, which was the way that a lot of the people in the hunting community, particularly on social media, are sort of becoming a bit of a shell and sort of saying, hey, this thing's great, and they're not even getting paid for it. That's the thing that blows my mind.
Yeah, I suppose I only started an Instagram account and doing hunting stuff just over a year ago, and I suppose straight away I sort of tried to do what everybody else does and try and talk to lots of people and get lots of people to follow you and blah blah blah, because that's what people do. And I know over the last year and a bit, I suppose, you sort of start to realise that there's a lot of people who they do a lot for, I suppose, just to have people following them as well. They're not really getting anything out of it. It's not like they're getting paid to do anything or getting heaps of free stuff. It's just I
think it's probably important to explain exactly what these programs are and how and why we don't do them, and explain what the differences are. So I guess the thing is these like ambassadorships, you might get given product, and then there will be a requirement that you post on your social media, tagging them, thanking them, showing you using the thing or whatever it is. And then if you're particularly good at that, like you've got a lot of followers or you get a lot of views on your videos or whatever it is, then there might start being a financial contribution. But most of the time there isn't. Most of the time it's, here's a free t-shirt, here's a free hat, here's a free whatever. And I mean, this is not obviously just the hunting community, this is social media in general. Yeah. And there's a lot, for 99% of it, these people aren't getting paid, they're just getting what I call quote-unquote free shit, right?
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting to see the lengths people will go to get a free t-shirt.
Well, and that's the thing that blows my mind, is that, like, you got these people who are like, oh yeah, I've got X product or whatever it is, and they're not even getting paid for it, and it's like, because the problem that I have with that is that you're now setting your value for doing that sort of thing, which there's nothing wrong with doing, but you're setting the value so incredibly low because you're effectively working for free.
Yeah, it's true.
That's the part that's crazy. But the thing so I guess the difference with what we do, and this goes for everybody, and we had this conversation when you first started with us, was if you're going to do a review, call it a review. Don't take anything in remuneration from the people that are sending it to you, like your tent review. You bought that yourself, didn't you?
I did, yep.
But even if it was, the company said, hey, we've got a tent, we'd like you to review it, we don't take money for these reviews, because then it's no longer an independent review. It's now an advertorial, which is a different thing. So anything that you guys see on our website that is that says review, that's exactly what it is. We might have been loaned something for the purposes of review, and it goes back. If there's any kind of kickback at all, we're really open about that, and then it's no longer a review. It's maybe a product showcase to say, hey, I was given this, let me show you around it, which we don't actually do a lot of anyway. No,
I know for me, at first I didn't really know what was when it comes to reviewing things, I sort of thought it was just a case of they gave it to you, you said good things, you get to keep it. But then it wasn't until you sort of explained it to me and sort of I thought about it myself. It's like, nobody wants to go and, you go to buy something new and you go, first thing you do is you Google it, such and such review, and then you click on it. And straight away, the top one you go to, you read the whole thing and it's nothing but praise about this thing. And then you go to the bottom and it's all that you can see all the affiliations this person has with the company. And then you're like, well, I don't know if it's even a good product or not, And I know personally I've bought things and it's been, good equipment, and then it shows up and it's not actually so flash. So I suppose it's important for me as well as the Empire as a whole that whatever we reviewing, any advice we give is honest. For instance, the tent that I just reviewed, great bit of equipment, you watch the video, you see what I thought about it, but also it showed up with a couple of defects, and so I said that in the video. If I was getting paid to do that, I'm not going to say that there was something wrong with it.
Well, it would stipulate that you're not allowed to say
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I guess the reason for me behind all of it is, and this probably sounds a little bit cliche, but we only get to do these things because of the people like you guys watching this now or later or whenever you watch it, because of your guys' support, because you guys watch the videos and you comment on the posts and you enjoy what we do. That is the only reason, and there's enough of you doing it, that's the only reason that people will approach us and say, hey, do you want to do this? Hey, do you want to do that? Like I had a guy email me last night who was like, hey, do you want to fly, we'll fly you down to Christchurch to review an electric bike. And I was like, that's cool. We're not going to charge you for any of the production for the review because then it's no longer a review. And then if you wanted to do something that was all praise, then we're not interested, basically. Because I'd rather be able to go down there and just be like, this is what I actually think. Because it's important for us that you guys have given us so much support over the years, and I would trust that what we tell you is our honest findings, and that you guys can be like, okay, well, that's what Nick had as his experience with that car or that burger or whatever it is, and say, well, I mean, I'm not saying that you have to take everything I say for solid, I mean, it's like, do your own research, just, here's our view on it, I guess.
Yeah, or even though, we might give you advice on it, it doesn't mean that, because everybody has different experiences with products. Somebody else might have got that tent I had and no issues at all. Yeah. But, I suppose it's like Nick said, you just got to do a bit of homework, and I never look at just one review. I sort of look at a whole bunch of them and sort of compare them.
Yeah. But I guess the bigger problem that this whole idea creates within the industry, because, I mean, there is an industry around it, which is the industry that we work in, is that you get that many shells, you get that many sellouts, you get that many people that saying everything is great, you actually start getting really bad consumer advice. And because these people aren't interested in what you want, whether or not this phone is good for you or this fitness product is good for you, they just care about, like, how many followers have I got and how much money am I making from posting these things. And the irony is that most of them aren't making much money out of it, if any. Because they're doing because this is what happened. I always tell the story about that movie, The Life of Pi. You remember that movie?
I've never seen it.
I've watched it. I can't really remember a lot of it.
Is that the one with the tiger?
Yeah, and the boy in the boat on the cover. Yeah. The reason that that's so polarizing of what the industry does, what a lot of industries do to themselves, is that, this is obviously the film industry, is the night that won a bunch of awards was the same day that the production house that did all the VFX, I think I've got this right, closed because they ran out of money. Because so many of these companies, and this is true of a lot of industries, are underselling themselves to get the work, hoping that they'll get a name for themselves and then be able to make more later. But what people don't seem to realise when you're in that mindset is that so many people are doing the exact same thing once you've stopped doing it, if you can stop doing it. So unless you really crack it and you really make a name for yourself and you can really set apart, which is like 0.1% of people that do anything, you're always going to be stuck in that loop, and you're always going to be fighting the same people that were trying to do what you were doing in that situation. And it's just a revolving circle.
That's what I was saying to you earlier about how it's pretty frustrating for someone like me who has a full-time job, got a baby at home, got stuff to do around the house. It's impossible to compete with people that don't have all that stuff to do. They don't have necessarily, and I'm not picking on anybody in the hunting community, but I've seen this as a whole. You can make your own assumptions. I don't care. But you see people that are, they got all the time in the world to do it, and they're not particularly good at what they're doing. They might not even get out hunting much. I'm using hunting as an example because that's what I do. They might not even get out hunting much. They might even not get out fishing much. And you see them posting photos from years ago all the time. They're just reprocessing things through. But they get all the likes and follows because they've constantly got that content coming through. And it's what people see all the time. And there's other factors that play into it. But it's pretty impossible to keep up with stuff like that because people want, we're like, today's society, we want immediate gratification. We see it, the first thing that we see is like, well, cool, I'll watch that video. If they're not seeing, say, my stuff's at the bottom of the pile because there's, 5 other people that have got way more time than me or more money, and they post, they've got all their content pushed out there, they're paying for ads and that, and so they're seeing the review that this person might be an ambassador or getting paid to do it. So they're seeing that first. Whereas they're not seeing a lot of the honest reviews of the people that, like for myself, who don't have the time to sort of get a lot of the stuff out there as much. So it is pretty hard to keep up with some of the people out there. And I mean, you can't really hate on them necessarily. Yeah, you can question with the morality of the honesty of the stuff they're doing, but at the same time, they're also hustling and getting done what they want to do.
And I think a lot of people have the same dream similar dream as we do, is to say, hey, wouldn't it be great to have all of us doing this as a full-time career, which in reality isn't an unreasonable idea. It's just about going about it the right way. And I guess I've always had strong opinions on what the right and wrong way is. And I don't believe that being a sellout in the early days to get the big numbers so you can say, like, oh, look at me, I've got 20,000 followers on Instagram. Well, that's cute, I mean, not to sound arrogant, but I mean, our numbers are a lot better than that. And I mean, again, like I said this in a video that I'm actually going to post on the Blokes page, probably tomorrow now, actually, is that I actually don't care about the numbers. The only thing that the numbers are good for us is to be able to say, when people come to us and say, hey, we want to do something with you, what are your numbers like? And you go, here, and they go, holy shit, your numbers are like better than everyone's. And you go, well, yeah, a lot of people enjoy what we do, and we love that. So thank you guys, because you guys create that for us. But
it does make it very hard for myself, because a lot of the hunting stuff that's out there now is done via Instagram. For whatever reason, that's the popular platform at the moment. To message a company or send a message through to somebody, I remember I talked to somebody, I think it was, am I allowed to name drop companies? They're not in New Zealand.
Do we like them?
No, because they never gave it. Well, I'll tell you in a second. So, O-Meals is it's not freeze-dried food, but it's like meals ready to eat. It's like actually like the American Army stuff, but with pretty packaging. You stick it in and you add some cold water, and the thing steams for ages, and it takes way longer than the packet says to actually get warm. But that aside, I got a couple of those to try. And I don't know, I was talking to O-Meals social team, I guess, somehow. They're based in America. And I said to them, hey, this is what we do. We've got these big numbers on our platforms to followers and that. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's cool. What about your Instagram? And I'm like, well, I just only started out. I had 300 followers or anything. And the guy's like, oh, you need 10,000 followers to even be considered for doing an ambassador stuff. I'm like, well, we have a lot of other numbers, not just on Instagram, but they weren't interested, They didn't even want to talk about it. So I guess that's the world of Instagram.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I've noticed through the whole influencer thing becoming a lot more prevalent in the last few years. I mean, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I was on an influencer program for Lenovo, which is, if you guys remember, it's what used to be IBM. I think IBM bought Lenovo, or Lenovo bought one of them.
Wait, is it the laptops and stuff?
Yeah, laptops and stuff. And that was actually being done out of Sydney. There was a company over there called Digivisor, who are amazing people. Shout out Emma, love you. And the way that they had their program set up was so incredibly simple compared to what they have these days here. And there was no... I remember one of the girls that was on the program posted what I considered a very fair and balanced review of, I think it was one of their sort of netbook type devices called a Yoga. And I was oh wow, mad respect for actually saying, hey, this doesn't work for me. Or, this is something that's a feature that I don't like. I thought I was really, really respectful of that, because not only was it an influencer deal, not in the way that we know it these days, where it was, hey, here's the thing, tell people that you use it, and that's all we really want you to do. But it was also not only allowed, but encouraged to say, hey, this is what I like about it, this is what I don't like about it. Here's my balanced opinion. Do with that what you will. And that's effectively all I've ever tried to do is, here's my balanced opinion, do with that what you want.
Well, you ever get told something's so perfect and you look, or you're in a situation where everything's going so right, you must think eventually something's going to go wrong. Well, it's the same with a product review. If you hear somebody saying all these good things, you're like, well, there's nothing out there that's completely perfect.
Yeah.
So, you know, people are going to see through that in the end anyway.
Yeah, well, there was, there was an agency set up in Auckland a couple of years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago, and their entire thing was around influencer marketing. And one of the stipulations, like I looked at it because I was like, hey, this is a marketing thing that's in a field that we operate in. Let's at the very least have a chat with them. And I remember like looking through their fine print because I'm one of those nerds, and it was something to the effect of, if you, this is not verbatim, but it was basically the gist of it was that if you get given a product or you get paid to promote a product on your channels, you're not allowed to say anything negative. Like, you can only say positive things about it. And I was like, so I had a conversation with the girl that owned the agency, and I said, hey, what's the story with this? Because our whole thing is balanced reviews. And she's like, that wouldn't work for us. So we never took it any further. I mean, I had conversations with them after that because I did a couple of rants on influencers in general because I just am not a fan. But it blew my mind that there's not only so many people saying things are great because they're getting something out of it, but there's actually businesses around it who are specifically saying, don't say anything bad. Because now all of you guys who are sitting there at home are going like, oh, this must be amazing. Nobody's got anything bad to say about it.
No, what cracks me up? I was thinking about some of the people that I used to follow on Instagram and that, and especially there's a lot of army people over in the States and that, especially females who they'll put in their profile there a first form. It's it's some supplement brand over in America, I guess. It's like, I'm first form athlete. They're not an athlete. They're just some person who goes to the gym like everybody else. Or not everybody else, but everybody else that goes to the gym. There's nothing special about them. They're not an expert. They're not an athlete. Saying, oh, this product is so amazing.
Fair, you don't know that. I mean, do you know?
No, I do know because they're not athletes. They're not athletes at all. They're just people that go to the gym. It's like their side gig.
This actually raises a really interesting point, is that you don't know that because you don't know them outside of Instagram.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
And I guess that's the crux of it, is that all people know about anybody, all you guys know about us is what we put online. But I think me out of everybody really puts most of my life out there online. And I actually find that quite therapeutic, and thank you guys for all the support over there. But
you have to start paying them for therapy.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, you guys should get something out of this. That's actually a really good point. But this does actually raise my point, because I was having a conversation with a couple of girlfriends yesterday. Was the amount of people, like, I won't name it because it's irrelevant, but there's a fitness brand that's always like, hey, here's our booty bands and our like gel pills and crap. I don't know what it is. And they're like, hey, make sure that you just hashtag, our fitness thing and whatever. And like you say, these are people that never outside of that post about going to the gym. And I mean, these are not like athletic looking people, but they're getting paid to do it. And to me, that's just like, well, but you're selling a lie. And that's the biggest trouble that I have with the internet, is that so many people are selling lies as truth. And it was only a couple of years ago that really actually started to change. I can't remember who I was talking to about this with the other day. But it was a few years ago. I think it was, I don't know how big you guys are on the YouTube, but there's a guy called Roman Atwood who used to do prank videos, and then he got into family vlogging. And I really enjoyed him. I used to watch his videos when I'd had my breakfast. Lovely guy, lovely family, and they would just do lots of really fun stuff. And then he got to the point where he came very open about the fact that, like, hey, actually, not everything's all peaches and roses, and sometimes people have a bad day. And it's really hard to put out a happy video when you're having a bad day, which is why I haven't put out fuck all videos in the last couple of months, because I've had a lot of bad days, And I mean, I guess the thing for me is, like, there's a new episode up on the channel if you want to check that out. But, like, I had to force myself through that. Like, it's hard. It's hard when you're having a bad day to sit there and go, hey, actually, everything's peachy, and let's sort of make the world think everything's great.
Something I had no idea about, and what most people think about, especially anybody in the generation older than us, they think that everybody who's on YouTube or on social media that's doing well has just struck gold, and they're getting money for doing nothing. My goodness, you guys have no idea how many hunting trips I've been on and how much footage I've taken, and I don't shoot anything, and I get home and it all goes to waste.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not even I could make a video, but most of you guys wouldn't be interested in watching it.
How many fish did you catch today?
I got one fish. See, I'm gonna make that video though. I'm gonna make that video, and you guys will watch it. No, I'm gonna make that video. I catch one fish, but spoiler alert. But yeah, you guys honestly, you have no idea what it takes. Well, not all of you might not have an idea, but it takes a lot of effort to actually make videos. And my sister's also, she does blogging, and she does videos as well. She runs some website, and she, it took her 18 months. Well, it's sort of evolved. It started off as blogging, and it's quite, sort of mutated. Yeah, no, I'm very happy for her because I used to make fun of her so much. It took her 18 months before she made any money, and now it's a full-time income. Yeah. So, but she worked really hard to get there, and people don't understand that most of those YouTubers were, taking videos on their iPhones for years before anything actually happened. Mr. Beast counted to like 1 million on a cell phone video. And, now look at where he's, he's giving away millions of dollars.
I love Mr. Beast.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
they just gave away they just bought that whole shop and then gave it all to charity. They bought like 4 different shops. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm really behind on my YouTubing.
Yeah, me too.
I think the only thing I'm watching at the moment is Goon Squad because they're doing up a house. That's really cool. That's actually really inspiring, but I guess that's a bit of a spoiler alert for something else that I've got.
Anyway, back to what we were saying is I suppose what it boils down to for me, what I've definitely noticed in the social media sphere is you got to be careful because just because somebody has 50,000 followers doesn't mean they know anything about the product they're selling, because there are a lot of people out there, because I personally believe, I know we were saying before about, I don't know if that person's an athlete or not, which is true, but I actually believe that if you have enough followers, people will look at that number and they'll be like, oh, they must know what they're talking about because this many people follow them. I reckon that's a big part of it. And
I think that's quite true. I think the thing is it's hard to tell when, I know that there's a lot of people that are really, really into what we do, and like people that I talk to like most days or at least like once a week and just have a little catch up with, who are really like emotionally invested in what we do. And I fucking love that, by the way. Thank you. Joe, Darren, people I talk to all the time, like you guys are fucking awesome. And that sort of thing to me, makes me care so much more and want to do shit things so much less. Because I know that there are people that are out there that, comment all the time and DM us and just have like yarns. I mean, like through lockdown, I had so many phone calls with people that I'd never really spoken to before. Like you recognise their name on a comment and stuff. Oh yeah, that guy. And then it becomes this thing where it's just like, hey, like, you're out and about, then you meet someone, and then your mates. That's effectively how I met Steve. Yeah. For those of you who are unaware, Steve Goody, he's the other owner of Empire, and we've been doing this for 5 years nearly. I met him the exact same way. And just real casual. Hey, our work sponsors some junior dragsters. Do you want some footage of that? I was like, yeah, man, that sounds cool. And that was how I met Steve. And there's so many cool things like that, but there's so many like cool stories like that around people that I've met that I've had good times with or whatever, and it all comes back to the same thing of my want to be authentic and real and open and honest and just not bullshit people. And the problem is that the bullshitters are the ones that are getting all of these deals, because the people that are giving the deals know that they're bullshitters and don't give a fuck.
And don't get me wrong, there's definitely people out there, I know of a few people that are part of these ambassador programs for hunting brands, and they are genuine people, and I don't think they're trying to lead anybody astray at all. They genuinely believe that the products they're representing are good, and they don't go and make posts like, this is the best waterproof jacket that's ever existed, blah blah blah. They literally just put up a photo of them wearing it and say, this is this jacket. They don't go into detail about it. And so they're not necessarily getting, I suppose they're not leading people astray at all with that. They're just, people see them wearing it and they're like, oh, they're an experienced hunter. They must know what they're talking about, which I don't see anything wrong with that. It's not like they're actually verbally saying a whole bunch of stuff about it. But there's a lot of people that are doing it, so I don't want to get people to get that wrong. There's a lot of people out there doing it, and they're doing a great job. But I would definitely, there's an aspect of the hunting community that has fallen into that trap, but I don't know if it's as prevalent within the hunting community as it is with other things like fitness channels, and it's really big on that.
And that's also starting to touch on with a subject that I think I want to get someone on this podcast with, who's done really well with something like Instagram, like a pretty girl who's done really well on Instagram, to get their take on it. But I think there's a lot of expectations on what people think that they need to do to be successful online versus what they actually need to do to be successful online.
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone's watching who's actually in that position, at the end of the day, my advice would be honest and just make the content that you want to see. That's all we've ever done.
Yeah.
And we just make shit that we think is cool. That's why I make the webisodes. I don't care if fucking 500 people watch it as opposed to 10,000. It doesn't make any difference to me. I do it for the people that enjoy it, and I do it for myself. So, but yeah, no, the whole social media thing, it's a big landscape and it's a big conversation.
And there's a lot of times that it makes you just want to quit, to be fair. Yeah. There's been more than once where I'm just like, I really can't be bothered dealing with these people, because you see lots of positive things. When during for the hunters that are watching, when the Tarcol was happening, I put up a video because somebody put up something about it was like threatening helicopter pilots that were taking part in the cull, like threatening to shoot their helicopters down and talking all sorts of rubbish like that. And I said, oh, that's not cool. No, just because you lost your job doesn't mean somebody should lose their life. Blah blah blah. I got a guy absolutely abusing me, direct messaging me. Look at that. That's an old person way of saying that, isn't it? Is it DM'd?
Is it? I don't know.
No, DMing me about how, I don't know what I'm talking about. He said, what he called me as like, you fat white prick, you can't say this, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah.
You're
and he's, well, the thing is, how does he even know that? So, and he was actually abusing me, and I screenshotted all the messages and put it through my story. And another hunter said to me, hey, look, you should probably take that down because we'll try and talk to this guy and, blah, blah, blah. And
do you know if anything ever came of it?
I know that a lot of people didn't frown upon it because they're mates with him. Actually, there were a few ambassadors that are big in the community that are mates with him, and nothing bad. They actually said to me, oh, you've got to open your mind, even though this dude was really abusive. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's why I actually took a break from Instagram. You guys who follow me know that I took a break for about a couple of weeks, and it was really good. Yeah. And all of it, it's actually quite funny because we can have a big way about all this stuff, but the reality is, it's like we put ourselves out there onto this platform, so you got to expect some flack. Welcome to the Thunderdome.
That's a really important point, actually, and that's actually that's 100% correct. I mean, I remember I didn't even really get in front of cameras until, if you guys have been around for a really long time, you remember we used to do the Tank Boy TV show. I never wanted to do the show. I just wanted to drive the tank and shoot the gun and just hang out and, dick around. I was quite content behind the scenes. And then Charlie, who's a very, very good friend of mine, who was making the show, was like, no, you're in it. You're Luke, and you're this, and you're that. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be on camera. He's like, no, you'll be great. Like, and it turned out they'd have been grooming it, like all of us that have been involved for the roles without us knowing about it. And it ended up being some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. Like, it was absolutely brilliant. And I mean, but I guess the thing that I struggled with was that, and more so these days, is that 99% of the people that I see out about in public are, will come up and be like, hey, you're Nick, right? I'm like, yep. I'll be like, hey, we love what you do, but fucking thank you. Give them a hug, give them a high five, whatever they think, whatever I assume that they want. I don't know.
$5.
Try not to overdo it. But, just make sure that those people have a good experience. And I'll tell you for why. And this is not me trying to sound arrogant at all. But, I mean, I've met people that I've been watching for a period of time in person, and it's completely changed. I either like them a lot less or I like them a lot more.
Never meet your heroes, right? That's what they say.
I didn't want to say that, but yeah, I mean, I can't remember, years ago I was working in a pub in the city and all the Slipknot guys came in, and I'm a huge Slipknot fan, and I didn't even know it was them because this is before they'd released any footage of them without masks, and we're just like standing outside having a cigarette because I think it was just around the time smoking when it was banned in bars, And I was like, oh, you guys over for Big Day Out? And they're like, yeah. I was like, what band are you in? He goes, Slipknot. I was like, fuck off. And I was standing there talking to Paul Gray, having a cigarette. Like, it was amazing. And it was just such a fun experience to go like, wow, these guys are actually not only create some of the most awesome music that I really love, they're actually really nice people. Mm-hmm. And I would hate for anybody that is enjoying what we do to turn around and go, oh, actually, you know, I used to like them, but dude's a bit of a dick. I don't want to give that experience to anyone.
No.
You know, at all.
I tend to I kind of hope that I'm nicer in person than on camera, because on camera I feel really awkward. Amber was always, whenever I finish talking on my wife, Amber, whenever I finish talking to the camera, because she sometimes will do the videoing or whatever, she says, how many times can you say the word in a minute? And I kid you not, I've spent a lot of time cutting ums out of my videos. Yeah, and I actually do it quite seamlessly a lot of the time. I'll cut whole segments out where I'm just going, blah, 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 blah. You don't watch a lot of my videos, I know, but I don't watch your webisodes, so.
Do you not?
No,
actually,
I do.
You don't.
No, I watch most of them, but like you said, you don't have time.
No, and that's actually very true.
If I'm part of the Blokes team, and I can't keep up with all the stuff that Nick will be like, oh, did you see what I posted? I'm like, no. I haven't had time to go on Facebook.
But that actually raises an interesting point. And Steve and I were talking the other day about getting more video content out on the page just because it's good for the platform. And one of the things I want to talk about, well, actually, that's why I put up that thing the other day of me just riding on my bike, because it's an easy way for me to just make a video now that I've got that new GoPro that sounds good, to actually just get some videos out there on the page that are relatively easy to make.
Yeah.
Like I can just be sitting there on my bike, hit record, go blah, 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 hit record again, stick it on the Facebook, job done. Like it's
on the Facebook.
Quite easy. Not the Facebook. Yeah, drop the you seen that movie? Great movie. If you haven't seen that movie, what's it called? The Social Network.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. When they're naming it, Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, Eisenberg. Yeah.
Something like that.
Film. Really, really interesting.
It's how they made Facebook. That's the movie.
Yeah, it's the history of where Facebook came from.
We were talking about. I was saying about how we put ourselves out there, and you got to. Because we were talking about this at work the other day, and we were talking about bullying, and one of the guys there, who's a bit of an old school character, was saying how, see, I said again. He was saying bullying used to be a case, you just have a scrap in the street, you called someone ugly to their face, that was it. But now people, sit behind the keyboard and they bully each other. Yeah. And see, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but when it comes to online bullying, it's unacceptable. But it's just like a fight in real life. The best form of self-defense is to run away. Use your legs for what they're for and run away from it. If you're going to put yourself in the situation and you're getting bullied, you got to, for me, because this is what I did in that case with the tar thing, I took a break. I stepped back, get myself out of the situation, because it's not worth your mental health to sit there and take abuse from some person on the other side of the world or on the other side of the country who doesn't know you, or they might know you, but... Hey, that's the beauty about the internet. You can just log off and get off of it.
And you can block people, and you can do that.
You can. There's a lot of things around it.
Yeah. I think the thing is that a lot of people think that social media platforms and networks are sort of this place for free speech and everybody can just...
Oh, no, it does. It makes you an expert on everything.
Well, yeah, true. But the reality is, these are private companies that you're using for free.
Yeah.
We don't pay Facebook to have this page.
No.
And we do pretty well out of it. So, I'm like... for us, it's like, well, hey, no, we'll toe the line and we'll do the right things as much as we can. But at the end of the day, you still need to have a laugh. But the thing is that those kind of comments and those kind of real nasty comments stopped bothering me for two reasons. I remember years ago, I think it was one of our first club sport videos we did. This is back when Joe used to make our videos. So that's going back a while. Some guy there's some nasty comment on the thing, and I was just like, initially I was like, oh, that actually really hurts, because he commented on my weight, and I was feeling unhappy about my weight at the time. I had quite the belly on me, and I was like, oh, that's really mean. And then I thought about it, and I was like, this guy doesn't know me. This guy sees what I put online. Doesn't know me personally, and he's clearly angry about something. What that is, I don't know, but I'm not going to take it personally now. And so now when we get those kind of comments, generally I'll take the piss out of them back and then pin it to the top of the YouTube channel. That Riker video that I did, that went really well, but it pissed off a lot of people that liked the Riker.
There's a lot of people that are really passionate about three-wheeled motorcycles.
Yeah, and they're really vocal.
Oddly passionate.
Yeah, like unusual.
But maybe that says something about the people who ride them, I don't know.
I mean, let's not talk about that. I mean, at the end of the day, if you've got a Riker and you enjoy it, I'm happy for you. I didn't enjoy it, and if you want to see why, go and watch the video on this YouTube channel if you're on the YouTubes.
Spoiler alert, it breaks down.
Twice.
Yeah, twice.
But hey, it is what it is, and I told the truth, and I don't think the people that lent me the trike were overly happy that that's what happened.
Well, the funny thing is that it's like polar opposites. There's some people that are really nasty about it. It's funny, so many people can't just be like, hey, I didn't enjoy this video. It's like, I really didn't enjoy this video because your head was too shiny. It's like, really? Personal stuff?
It is a bit, isn't it?
It is a bit shiny. They attack the person in the video. It's like, why can't you just be, you can be like, you say, oh, I didn't think that you did a very good job at presenting this video, but why do people feel the need to be like personally nasty to people? I don't get that, because then
offended them.
But then on the other end of the scale, there were people who thought it was a great video. So I don't know. There was more good comments than bad. So I'd take that as a win.
Well, the only feedback that I got on that I truly cherish is there's a friend of mine, Nick Murray, who's got a really, really boring, long-winded YouTube channel who does really terrible, painfully long to listen to videos. I'm just kidding. I love you, Nick. And I mean, he does car reviews. He does helicopter reviews. He's a really, really smart guy. And
if there's any companies out there that want to let me review a helicopter, hit us up.
I don't think there's a lot of helicopter manufacturers in New Zealand.
Carry on. Sorry.
But the point was that he said to me, he was like, no, he watched the whole thing, and this was like my version of a long-winded video. It was like 20 minutes long. And he was like, no, it sounded like you knew what you were talking about, which I think I did. And I was just honest in exactly what it felt like under me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I can do. And for him to say that, I mean, like, he's been really supportive of us since the day one. And I mean, we met because he also makes car review films.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, we're from New Zealand, because he lives over in the States. So, yeah, I mean, and that was really cool to catch up with him. And he said that this was just last week. He said that to me when we had lunch the other day. So I was like, thanks, man. I appreciate the shit out of that.
But also, controversy drives a lot of views, so that was actually quite good. They got a lot of views, that video.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't like doing that. I don't like clickbait.
Oh, not purposefully, no.
No, and that's the thing is, I mean, if it just happens to be controversial or something really wild happens, it is what it is. But I mean, like, which one was it? The Jeep Gladiator. It was a really interesting car for me personally because I like Jeeps. I didn't think that the Gladiator was a particularly effective vehicle for the New Zealand market because they're effectively selling a Jeep Wrangler that happens to be a ute for $89,000.
And it's petrol, eh?
It is petrol.
Yeah, New Zealanders like diesel.
Yep. So you're effectively getting a ute that is a Jeep when you could just get a Hilux for like 2/3 the price.
Speaking of clickbait though, I love Casey Neistat's videos. Great YouTuber. Yeah. Really, really good. His camera work's amazing. The stuff he does with his videos is really entertaining. But man, his titles, like his relationship has broken up so many times. He'll have like a picture of his wife walking away as his thumbnail. It's like, she's leaving me. And then in the video, she like walks away from him on the beach. That's where that thumbnail's from. Really, but I click on it every time, because you want to know, has one of your favourite YouTubers finally broken up? It's real petty, but it works.
And that's the funny thing is it does work. And there's a YouTuber that I watch a lot. His name is Shade Tree Surgeon, and he's brilliant. I ripped off his intros just for a bit of fun in the last webisode. And I really enjoy his videos. He's just a really genuine, cool guy. He like works in a bar and he's got a few Harleys and whatever. And he's like a real bogan Westie. He's just a cool dude. But every title of his is like really clickbaity, and it's just like, I mean, the thing is if you say something that's effectively untrue, then that's just being a dick. But I mean, if you kind of, you focus on one little part of it, and I mean, at the end of the day, everybody that makes videos or whatever it is wants to get those views, and they're going to try and use the tools at their disposal to do that. I just don't want to go over the top and be like, oh my god, this is the craziest thing ever. So, well, yeah, that was alright, I guess.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
I just don't want to set up people. I mean, I guess that kind of goes back to that whole thing about when you get into a new relationship is keep the expectations low, and then if you accidentally do something that's really amazing, they'll be impressed.
I'm still using that in my marriage.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Amber and I talk a lot. How long have we been going? I'm not even paying attention.
Oh, like 30 minutes, maybe.
I guess, yeah, I mean, and this is probably, that's probably more than enough on the whole social media thing, but...
yeah, I don't really like talking about social media that much.
Fuck social media. But no, I think something that would be really interesting, particularly for the hunting community, would be talking about, because you did another article about the ethics of hunting, and I guess my stance on that, to kind of get the ball rolling, is that I think a lot of people that are anti-meat are actually a lot more anti-processing than they are actually meat itself. And I think, I remember we posted years ago, there was a video of a guy doing home kill, and it was quite graphic, it was quite confronting if you're not used to it. And it was a full process. I think he ended up making those videos private, because I don't think they're on the website anymore, but if you're on the website, type in home kill on the search bar and see if it's still there. I don't actually know. But it was very confronting, and what it did was it started a conversation where I think a lot of people, when you're walking down the supermarket and you go and see sausages or mincemeat or chicken thighs or whatever it is, I think a lot of people really disconnect between that packet on the shelf being what is going to be, your minced meat for your burger patty tonight, with a cow walking around the paddock when you're driving down the road. Like, those two things are intrinsically connected, but a lot of people don't see that connection and they don't see the process. Now, my thing, I'm not much of a hunter at all. If anything, it's more just pest control around the house. I am considering eating the duck though, but
they're not that great.
Hey?
They're not that great.
Well, we actually had duck the other night.
And did you like it?
Yeah, it was actually real good.
Maybe I just am not a very good cook.
King duck.
Oh, right.
Where were we? White and Wongs. Steve went down to White and Wongs. That's the name of the place.
I love that.
Yeah, they had a really good sign out front. It said $65.
Oh, I saw that.
That story I put up.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly how they phrased it, but it was like, just say I'm hungry and we'll sort
Yeah,
it out.
yeah.
I was like, that's marketing that speaks to me.
Yeah, it's simple.
Yeah.
No, so yes, I have opinions on this.
I'm sure you do.
But they're my opinions, so if you don't like them, too bad, so sad. They're my opinions, not yours. You don't have to be okay with it.
And these opinions do not represent the Empire Media.
Or Playtech. So I don't think it's just a case. Yeah, it's not just a case to do with hunting, though. I think it's a societal thing it's just the way we are these days. So I was having a conversation with somebody who will be unnamed, who probably will never see this anyway. But we were talking about, because I just left the army, and he's very anti-authority, right? He doesn't like the police, doesn't like the army, blah, 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 blah. And he said to me, why do we even send our army overseas? And I was like, so when other people need us. He's like, well, should we just mind our own business and stay out of it? And I said, well, what would have happened if the rest of the world had said, no, you're right, Hitler, you just carry on with what you're doing? And he said, I kid you not, he said, oh, well, it might not have turned out so bad.
Wow. Not a historian then.
No, well, you don't have to be a historian to know what happened,
No, exactly.
So, I know that has nothing to do with hunting, but the disconnect you were just talking about,
yeah.
This guy is pretty much the same age as me. But the disconnect there is so huge. I think that just goes to show where our society at of people of my age and younger, specifically more younger now coming up. I mean, I'm 26. The people that are on Instagram now, they're, 18 and stuff, and they're leading the world with thousands of dollars of, they're making a lot of money. So for me, I think that's got to, I was talking to my younger sister about it. She had no idea what 9/11 was until she was quite old.
Really?
I kid you not.
I watched that shit live on the news. People
don't know that there was this generation of guys they were, when the Twin Towers happened, they were 18, 19 years old. Those guys there went through hell in Iraq, and they were just forgotten, because this was before mental health was a big thing, you got given a whole bunch of pills when you got home. That bunch of guys, how many of them killed themselves, killed their families, because they came back all messed up, and there's this huge disconnect. People don't know what happened. Yeah. That war is America's longest running war? Nobody knows, nobody cares, because it doesn't affect them anymore.
Well, that's just the thing about out of sight, out of mind.
And that's what's going on with this disconnect. So I honestly think that and everybody's raised differently, but people that have a problem with the fact that your meat is butchered, wake up, it's reality. If you want to go buy a chicken from the supermarket, you need to be aware of what happens to it. And if you don't like it, well, stop eating it.
Well, and this is the thing, is because I see so many people that are these activist sort of people that are against. I mean, it's interesting because we went to, I remember the first time that we went to Meatstock, which is a brilliant event. Keep an eye out for updates on that. But there was a bunch of animal rights protesters out the front, and Steve took the piss. He's like, oh, we should go get them some food. They look hungry. They've been here all day. I was like, that's hilarious. But the reality is a lot of these kind of people, there's a lot of hypocrisy in what they do, because they'll like drive to a protest about an oil drilling station. Mm-hmm. Like, but you're using the oil. Stop using the oil.
Or how's everybody? You remember when Greta Thunberg cried all over TV, and the whole world stood up for this climate thing in in Aussie? They had all those massive protests, and that like everything was shut down. They had those massive climate, and they're all sitting there on their cell phones. Where do they think that copper in their cell phones comes from? Yeah. Huge mines. Yeah. Same with your electric vehicles. They're really cool. They are cool. Modern technology is real cool. But where do you think all the lithium for your batteries come from, and all the copper? And where do you think it goes when that car dies?
Well, and that's the bigger problem as well. Yeah, because I remember when I did that review on that Tesla, I said to the guy, I was like, what do you actually do with the batteries when they're done? And how long do they last?
They bury them.
Well, he reckons that they recycle as much as they can. I mean, we don't know the percentage.
Yeah, probably the plastic casing they're in.
Well, who knows? I don't know. I mean,
we won't speculate on that. We're not experts.
Well, no. But I mean, I guess the thing is it's very easy to sit there and be an armchair critic without actually putting a foot to ass and doing something proactive with your day-to-day choices. Yeah,
and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't, try and do your bit, for sure. I never used to recycle growing up. Well, because we lived on a farm, we burnt everything. We literally burnt everything. If you had a tyre to burn, you waited till it was dark. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it's all the vapours, but anyway, we burnt everything. But then as I got older, I was like, you know what? You start seeing videos of these plastic islands out, that China's creating, and you're like, well, those aren't too flash. And you see a picture of, a turtle with a plastic bag over its head. It's not too flash. So I started being a bit more, a bit more friendly of the environment.
And that's actually an interesting point to raise, because I mean, not so much these days, but I used to spend a lot of time just scrolling my Facebook newsfeed, and you'd always see the thing that always gets me is dogs being mistreated. I love dogs.
Yeah.
Love dogs. Hate people, love dogs. And so whenever you'd see something like animals being mistreated, I'd feel really, really upset. And then it's like, well, why would you post that? It's like, well, for that very reason, because there are dogs that are being abused.
Yeah, it raises awareness.
Yeah. If you want to do something proactive about that, go check out Poor Justice on Facebook. They're doing amazing things. I actually saw that. We saw that.
Poor Justice. Where did that? Oh, that's what those guys hanging from the bar today were for. Yeah.
So that bald guy, he runs everything, and he's a brilliant human being. And I think I actually don't know if there's a date for the Poor Justice charity ride this year, but that's an amazing event.
I thought you meant when I heard you talk about it before, it was like POOR, Poor Justice, and I was like, bringing justice to the poor. I wasn't sure what was going on.
A number of signs there.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going back to the hunting.
So I mean,
the disconnect in that, or the ethics of hunting. So the article I wrote.
You remember?
It was a while ago now. I've actually done quite a lot in the last year. I've been with Blokes for 1 year now, so go look at all my old content. The first video is pretty cringy, but some of the more recent ones are pretty good. My tent one's pretty good. Go look at that. I wrote about how what's your drive to go out hunting, why you hunt, and different perspectives on hunting. Because there's a group I'm part of on Facebook. There's multiple ones, and somebody will post a picture up of a hind they shot, and nobody can just be like, well, okay, there's a lot of people that are just like, hey, great job, mate. And then there's other people that have to nitpick and find something to complain about. They'll be like, was that hind with a yearling? So why are you questioning him? Like, what business is it of yours, first of all, whether there was or not? You're not the hunting police, And this guy just gets ripped apart. There's another guy who put a picture up the other day of a stag on the skyline. And people started commenting, dumb place to shoot that, don't shoot that, blah, blah, blah. He didn't shoot it. He took a picture of it on the skyline. But people still, I don't know, for whatever reason, decided they were angry that day and ripped them apart. And then it sort of made me think about, because sometimes you're scared to put a picture up in case, you get ripped apart and you end up looking like a bad person. And so it made me think about what people are out there to hunt for, because the reality of deer in New Zealand, so there's a lot of people more educated on this than I am, conservationists, and I'm trying to learn. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts talking about the Seeker Foundation, and the deer stalkers are doing great work with raising awareness about controlling our populations, because right now our Seeker deer population is really high, and if we don't control them, because right now they're what are they called, a species of interest, I think. So the government, like the DOC, looks after them essentially and has an interest in looking after them because they're a species of interest. If they get too out of hand, they'll start culling them like they have with the tahr. And we don't want that to happen, obviously, because it's in the hunter's best interest for it not to happen. But then there's been people that have been capturing them and releasing them in other parts of the country, which is not okay, because Seeker deer are very aggressive and they push other deer species out. That's why there's no red deer in the Kaimanawas and that, because the Seeker deer chase them out, even though they're like half the size of them. Anyway.
They're just angry little ones.
Yeah, but they're really cool deer, and I reckon they're one of the best to eat. Fallow's also pretty good. But anyway, people were, somebody will put a picture up. They shot heaps of deer, and people will be like, "Oh, don't shoot too many. We'll run out." They're at pest numbers in a lot of places in the country. In the South Island, guys can go out and shoot, dozens of deer on farms, spotlighting them and that, which is legal on farms. And they can shoot heaps of deer. I know guys who go out any evening of the week, they can go onto their farm and shoot a deer on the back, which makes me want to cry in the North Island where, you're hunting in the bush all the time.
There's deer that walks through the back of my place.
Really?
Yeah. If you sit on my deck for long enough, you'll see something.
I don't know how we've never talked about this before, but anyway.
I just can't think why that's never come up.
So there's a lot of people get really cut up about this, and why people shoot too many deer, leave some for the rest of us, I said. But the reality is that for some people it's a case of pest control, and people get really judgmental about it. They'll be like, "Oh, you shouldn't shoot that hind because it'll, it might have a fawn inside it. It's pregnant." And so for me, it's more of like a moral thing. It's like, it's a weird thing to shoot something that's pregnant. I mean, we've all shot rabbits, and there's, it's got babies in it, or it's a bit of it's more squeamish than anything else, because I don't know, it's just human nature to protect babies and that, even if they're animals, in my opinion. But then when you also look at it, it's like, he didn't really do anything wrong. He shot the deer, it had a baby in it. Yeah, so he kind of got rid of 2 deer with 1 bullet.
Deer?
Well, time of year.
Right.
It's like things are pregnant at certain times of year, and guys will generally stay away from shooting hinds at certain times of year, which is a big problem with Seeker deer at the moment, is there's too many hinds. And I don't know if this is, I was listening to the Meat Eater podcast the other day. I don't know if this is true with any of our deer species, but I'm pretty sure it's white-tailed deer. Stephen Ranella was saying, I don't know what the scientific word he used for it, but their deer have a male 1 year, female the next year, and they alternate. So there'll always be a balanced amount. Yeah. But what a lot of hunters do in New Zealand is they'll see a hind and they'll think, I won't shoot that because, we want it to keep producing. We don't want to wipe out the numbers. It's in their little area, Mm. But what's happening is that the population's far too high, and it ruins genetics when there's, poor quality animals running about. And then your trophy potential also goes down with your stags if you're picking and choosing too much, or you're taking the wrong animals out. So I think it's anybody, and I'm no expert on this. This is all stuff I'm just regurgitating from listening to other podcasts, and it's something I'm trying to educate myself on so I can be a better hunter, because I personally don't shoot. I don't go out of the way to look for trophies. I'll go hunting in the raw because it's exciting to raw a stag up, but I'm not.
Can you explain to people that don't entirely know, and I'm going to put myself in this, what exactly the raw is? Because I hear about it all the time.
So the raw is breeding season for deer.
Oh, so they're just super hungry.
Yeah,
super aggressive,
yeah, and the males they collect females. They have a little harem of hinds, and they collect them, and they have them in their little part of the bush or open country, wherever you are in the country, and then they also call. I'm not sure if the call is this will show my ignorance. I'm not sure if the call is to attract other females or to challenge other stags, because I don't know why a dude with heaps of chicks would be roaring to let another dude know that he's got them. Yeah, it could be very well that. But so what happens is I go out there with my little piece of PVC pipe or a bullhorn or whatever, and you make a stag roar, and you wait, and then you hear one roar back because it's like, oi, who's this dude up in my area of the bush, trying to steal my females? And then you roar to him, he roars back, you roar to each other. Sometimes I've had this, my first stag I ever shot, they will come running through the bush to find you, like proper aggression.
That must be intimidating.
Oh, there's heaps of videos of stags like, a couple meters, 2 meters in front of guys standing there. They haven't seen them yet because they're so hyped up, and they stink because they pee all over themselves and they roll in the mud, and they're quite stinky, but really exciting. I never got it in the video I did last year, and I reposted it the other night, of me roaring a stag. I could see it was probably 8 meters away, and I could have shot it. I had a shot, but it wasn't a good shot. There was too many sticks and stuff in the way, so I decided not to take it, and I ended up getting away. I'm going to try shooting this year. But, it's exhilarating, eh? I ended up shooting one of his hinds, but people often, they hunt, a lot of guys hunt for big stags, and that's all cool, that's, like I said, there's a lot of deer around, and if that's what you want to do it for, that's cool. But I personally hunt for meat, so for me, I just sort of, I'm not too picky, if there's a stag, I'll shoot it. It doesn't really matter if it's got big antlers or, people can judge me for shooting a potential trophy early, but yeah, I'm putting meat in my freezer, Sorry about it. So I'll always pick to put meat in my freezer over anything else. That's just the reality of it, but there's a lot of big stags down in the South Island. My brother-in-law shot a good one not too long ago on the Molesworth station. And he does a lot of hunting for big stags in the roar, but whatever floats your goat. Yeah.
I don't know if the roar is going to be quite my thing. That might be not a good idea for.
No, it's probably more. You'll have more chance of seeing something.
Oh really?
I've honestly spent hours and
hours.
hours.
How was you at 3 o'clock in the morning?
No, only Amber gets to do that. It is. I usually only go for day hunts now because I don't have much time to go on long trips. I just started a new job, so I don't have any leave booked up anyway, so.
Yeah.
But I am planning on a hunting trip in South Island in April, heads up.
Well, actually, that's something I've been meaning to say to you. A lot of people have been like, tell Kelvin that, next time he's in this area. So if you guys are actually wanting to do that, then you should definitely get in touch with Kelvin directly, because it saves me being a secretary.
Yes, please do. You'll find the links to my social media or whatever by looking on our website and seeing our videos. It's all in the bottom and linked, and you'll find it. But yeah, definitely always looking to meet new guys or girls. No, actually my wife won't like that. No, I'm always ready to meet new hunters and go out and, show me your areas, that not your secret spots, but your area of the country, show me the way you hunt. Everybody hunts differently. I'm definitely no expert on it. There's guys out there that shoot a lot more deer than I do, but a lot of that's through opportunity. Like I was saying about numbers and that. And whenever my brother-in-law comes up from Blenheim, he comes up here and you take him in the bush and he doesn't know what to do with himself because you can't see more than 15 metres. But where he goes, he puts his spotting scope up there and he looks 2 k's away and he can see the animal he wants, and then he goes and walks over it all day, to go shoot that animal. For me, I might not see anything for months.
That sounds like a lot of walking.
It is a lot of walking and a lot of sweating.
But it does sound like fun. I mean, at the end of the day, I would like to be, getting back to where we started this conversation.
Yes.
I would like to be, the idealistic of growing your own vegetables and hunting your own meat and catching your own fish. How was your fishing trip this morning?
I think we talked about that.
The point is that it creates, me and my mum, we tried to do a veggie patch years ago.
Hard work.
It is so much hard work for what you effectively save, dollar value. When you can just go down and buy a couple of carrots.
You also have to be very proactive as to what you plant, because you plant all your summer vegetables or all your winter vegetables, and then you get to the next season and you've got no food, so you have to go to the supermarket anyway. Yeah. Being actually self-sufficient is like a full-time job.
Well, I watched some interesting stuff on it. We used to have a lot of, we used to do home kill, that was amazing.
Yeah.
But that was really only beef. But, fuck me, it was good meat.
Yeah.
And they tasted happy. They were some happy cows. But I remember the first time that we did that, I made sure that I was there to witness it. I obviously didn't do it because we hired a guy to do it. But, and he just turns up with his truck, boom, 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 job done, off it goes.
It's very fast, yeah.
Yeah. But I thought that it was important to, at the very least, like be a part of that experience, just to really understand it. From a cow that I'd seen walking around the paddock that I'd say hello to when I'm out, like, you know, shooting rabbits or whatever, to being like, oh, well, you actually taste delicious. And I think that that's an important thing, and this is very, very polarizing with my relationship with my duck. You know, like I don't want to eat my duck now because like I spend a lot of quality time with it.
You can't eat your duck.
I could. I don't particularly want to.
I think, like you said, it depends on how you grew up. So when we grew up, my old man's a mechanic. I work for my old man. But when we were kids, we lived in town. But it was kind of like we kind of felt like farm kids because we were always out with the old man on people's farms, helping him on Saturdays, you know, going out, riding around in his work van with him. Or he was always making friends with farmers because he's a bit of a hoarder. So he always going around their place on the weekend to get firewood or bits of tractors and broken motorbikes. And he used to bring home... I question this one now, but he used to bring home nests of baby birds because tractors always have nests in them, and they bring home little baby birds. And he used to bring home the third lamb. So quite often, sheep have triplets, and they've only got 2 teats, so they can only feed 2 lambs. So generally, one will die.
I did not know that.
Yep, there you go. They have triplets quite often. So we had this farmer, let's call him Uncle Joe, and he would always give Dad this third lamb, and I can't remember if any of them actually survived, but we'd bring them home and we'd hand feed them as kids, you know, and we had guinea pigs and we had rabbits, and anyone who's ever had guinea pigs and rabbits and kept them outside knows that they're very temperamental, and they're fine one day, you walk in there the next day and they're twitching like, you know, they've just had a stroke or something. They die very easily. So life and death for us kids was we knew about it, you know, it was never something that we were scared of or unfamiliar with.
Yeah.
And I don't think I don't know, we cried when our dog died, you know, because the dog's a bit different. But it was sort of never a big deal. I remember, this is pretty ruthless, but when I was a kid, you know, I had a slug gun, went outside, my guinea pig was, you know, it was injured. Yeah, no, my guinea pig was injured, you know, it was sad, it was obviously not going to recover. Mum and Dad aren't going to take it to the vet. So I put my guinea pig down. You know, I might have been 11, not even that. I was probably 10 years old. I go up there, shoot it with my slug gun. And it was no big deal. It was, you know, it was in pain, and I needed to put it out of its misery, and it was my responsibility because it was my animal. And it's a similar...
That's an interesting point. It's your responsibility because it's your animal.
Yeah, so my father-in-law is the same with his dogs. He'll put his own dog down, which... I said that to Amber, I felt the same way until I got my pup, and now looking at him, it's like, man, I don't know if I could do that.
I couldn't.
It's a very difficult thing to do, because I don't know, you get an emotional attachment to an animal, obviously you do, especially to dogs, but we, because it was funny, because when I went to register Ghost, my pup, the council website said there's 11,000 dogs registered in Rotorua alone. Sorry, no, there's 11,000 dogs they know of, not necessarily registered. And I just look at the dogs down our road and think, man, there's so many dogs that just don't get the care they deserve it. And you're just saying that, you know, your dog, your responsibility. There's some people who just get these dogs and they do no training with them, and that dog has no freedom for the rest of its life.
Yeah. Well, actually, Baker, that does our streams, will be Twitching tomorrow night. He's just got a rescue, and she's lovely. Yeah. And I think she's got a thing about men, and she's got a thing about... what the other one was. But I said I'd go around there and spend some time and kind of give him some pointers and stuff. Apparently she's fine with the kids and everything like that. I think she's got a thing with men and for some reason his mum. But I think you're right. I think a lot of people, I know so many people that'll go and get like a little like handbag dog, treat it like dog shit. That fucks me off. Yeah. Like I know people that have got multiple small dogs that are fully grown 10-year-old dogs that still shit in the house because they don't know how to fucking train them. So
I'm going through the big game hunting deer dog blueprint. Shout out Paul Michael's podcast. He is an excellent trainer. He's been training dogs for a very long time, and I'm using his blueprint to train my dog Ghost, who's a heading dog cross Beardy, to be an indicating dog for deer hunting, so I can stop creeping around the bush by myself and spooking deer. But it's the stuff. It's just like training our baby, you know. It's just like our kid. The stuff is identical. You train your dog the same way you train your kid. I kid you not. The principles are exactly the same. But Paul says in his podcast, he says, because as people think, you know what people do, eh? They get their puppy, they stick it on their lap in the car ride home, and then it goes in the house and sleeps, on their bed, or they get up in the night because it's crying,
Where
and they
does
give it a
Ghost
cuddle. What?
Where does Ghost sleep?
Ghost he sleeps. First night, I kid you not, we got home. It was late. We had to drive to Huntley to pick this pup up. We got home. It was about 5 o'clock. Didn't have his kennel ready yet because it was a last minute sort of thing because I found this dog on Facebook. Went out to my parents' place because one of their dogs died and we had a spare kennel. It's sad actually. Fudge died. She was a good dog. We went and got so I went and got the kennel. Had to repair it. The kennel wasn't ready till 8 o'clock. Ghost stayed in the laundry, locked in there until the kennel was done. He was 8 weeks old. I chucked him in the kennel, and he stayed there first night outside by himself. And he cried for maybe 20 minutes. I had to get up at like 2 in the morning to let him out because he needed to go toilet. And now he's 13 weeks old, doesn't cry in his kennel, doesn't bark in his kennel. We had some issues with him messing in the kennel for a while. We did some stuff that made him realise that was not where he wanted to do it.
What was the name of that book again?
So it's called The Big Game Indicating Dog, the Dear Dog Blueprint. Search Dear Dog Blueprint and you'll find it. It's not a book, it's like a web series.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so you can either subscribe to it monthly or you can buy the thing and then it's yours forever. I just subscribe to it monthly and you just rewatch it. It's a 12-part thing. It's 15 hours of... I haven't even watched it all yet because, like you're saying, time, right? Mm-hmm. But he just goes through the basics of and why you do this and how to look after your pup properly. And it's the stuff you don't it's a big note. You don't ever touch your dog with your hand in a negative way. You don't hit your dog. Growing up the way we did, my dad's old school, your dog messed in the house, you rubbed its nose in it and you gave it a boot up the backside and kicked it out the door and it never did it again. You don't do that this way. The dog, because that's the way it used to be done. It's not that cool. You want your dog to love you and do things because you praise it and you want it to be devoted to you. You don't want it to be scared of you, and that's why it obeys you. But yeah, it's just been really good to go over that stuff. And he's got a Q&A podcast, so he goes through all the questions that people have that aren't necessarily in the blueprint. They'll be like, oh, hey, my dog, is a bit of a weirdo. He does this. How can I fix this? And he goes through all the his advice on that. So been really good. And the thing that I was coming back to where that started, I was trying to think there for a while. The dogs down the street, I take Ghost for a walk in the morning. Every morning, 6:30, I take him for a walk down the road. And every morning, there's 2 geriatric labs come to the gate and bark at him. First time there, it scared him so much because he was only 8 weeks. No, he was 12 weeks old when I started walking, and he took off, tried to run back home. I had him on a lead, so it was okay. But Paul says in his video, he said people asked, how do I stop my dog from barking? And he's like, you do this, you do that. And he says my dogs won't even bark in the kennel. He says I don't mind if they bark at someone walking down the driveway because they're on our property, right? He says, but somebody walking past on the sidewalk, it's unacceptable for my dogs to bark at them. Why should they be harassed for walking on the public street? Yeah. And I kid you not, man, I walk down the road and dogs come flying up at the gates. There's these 4 pig dogs down the road that come flying up. Ghost freaks out, tries to run home. There was another dog that came up to the fence, ran into it so hard it shook the fence, and it had a muzzle on in its own yard. And it's just people don't spend the time with their dogs they need to. It's a big responsibility. Like I walk them every morning at 6:30, and then again when I get home from work. And and then the first few weeks you got to get up and let them out in the night because they've only got little bladders, and because the big thing in it is taking away their freedom when they're young, so that they can have freedom for the rest of their lives. And I look at our dogs we had growing up. They got to do whatever they wanted when they were puppies, and we loved them. And they drank calf milk when instead of the calves drinking it, they used to go in with the pigs and eat the pig food. And they had a great time. But then as they got older, we couldn't control them because they knew that they could just do whatever they wanted. And they ended up most of their time in their runs because they couldn't be controlled. And so that's what the thing is with these dogs, is you got to spend the time to train them when they're young so that they can be good dogs later.
Yeah, and I think that's true of all dogs. I mean, like my mate there, he was a German Shepherd, and he was a brilliant dog, but he had a little bit of a thing where he was a bit of a scaredy cat. And as you all know, fear turns into aggression. And so he had a little bit of a problem. And, we thought we did all the right things, taking him to public preschool, taking him to proper dog training, etc., etc. And the thing that really sorted him out was a book called Bark Busters. And that's a great book, but they also do in-home training with you. They'll put your dog through drills and stuff, and they'll be like, look, this is why your dog does what he does. you know, and then, okay, cool. And it, you know, I mean, I wouldn't say 100% cured him, but it certainly gave him a lot more confidence. Because I didn't know that that's what it was. He wasn't confident.
Your dog gets all its cues for why it does things on your reactions.
100%.
If your dog, because this is one thing that seems very counterintuitive, when your dog's scared of something, you don't go in comfort and say it's all right. Because what you're doing is you're saying it's okay to be scared. Paul said, you know, your dog, say, because this is what happened when those pig dogs come flying up at Ghost. He's tried to run home. I gave him a check on his long line. You know, I don't rip his head off. I just give him a check and I go, you know, that's not acceptable behaviour. And now he's learnt that command of disapproval. We'll be walking down the sidewalk and he sniffs something and I don't want him to pick it up because he's a puppy and he wants to pick everything up. And there's heaps of, I saw little druggy bags and living nangs on the side of the road and all sorts of stuff down where I live, and I'll be like, and he'll just leave it without me having to pull on the long line. He won't touch it, you know. And that's just because you got to praise. This is what Paul says: is you got to praise the behaviour you do want, and you have to put pressure on the things you don't want. And it's not like when you say pressure, you're not beating your dog. You're just giving them verbal commands, and you know, or ignoring it, saying you're implying that you don't want it to do that. And so that was something really interesting. You don't want your dog to be scared, so you don't. If you don't give him praise for that behaviour. And it's pretty interesting because he's come a long way since I started. But twice already in the 3 weeks I've been walking him, he's been bitten by 2 other dogs. I've been walking on the park and these dogs come, I'm talking like from 200 metres away, these dogs come flying from their owner, not on leads. And because Ghost is on a 7 metre long line all the time. Because you can't set them up to fail. So if I give him a command and he doesn't listen, I can use the long line to make him listen. If I say come and he doesn't come, I can pull him towards me. These guys just letting their dogs do whatever they want, and they come flying over. And they just wanted to sniff him, but Ghost, being a little puppy, was scared, so he yelped, and then straight away they bit him. And it happened twice. The first guy, I yelled at him. I was like, if you can't control your dogs, in a much louder tone than this, I said, if you can't control your dogs, keep them on a lead. And he said, no, they're used to being down here. Like it's his park. I just couldn't get over it, eh? Really, really do. But keep an eye out because Ghost is going to be a great deer dog, and I hope you guys get some.
See a lot more Ghost on
yeah, well, you will. I tend to forget to take photos of him, but he's growing like a mushroom, so he's pretty big now.
Yeah. And if you guys have got photos of dogs, I'd love to see them. There's a lot of people that send me photos of their dogs on the regular, and it cheers me up a lot. So thank you for all of those people, particularly Jesus, who's over in Australia. He's got a couple of Roddies, and they are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, dogs are cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we'll probably knock it on the head there because you've got a bit of a drive today.
So I got to drive back to Rotorua.
Yeah.
And I only got 4 hours of sleep last night because Nick kept wanting to talk.
Excuse you, I said go. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. We haven't looked at the comments because I didn't bring my laptop. Sorry about that. But yeah, this will go live on YouTube. So if you missed the start of it, I'm going to upload it before I leave. So let's just recap. So the book, the blueprint.
Deer Dog Blueprint, or Big Game Indicating Dogs, Paul Michaels.
That'll be an interesting one. Make sure that you're following Kelvin on his Instagram because that's where Kelvin does. There's a lot more stuff that you put on there that doesn't come as far as all the main channels.
Yeah.
So if you're into the hunting stuff, definitely go check out Kelvin there. Make sure you visit the YouTube channel because there's going to be lots of cool stuff on there, including the car show that we went to today, which I'll probably get done tomorrow. I don't know. Big shout out to Playtech. Thanks for having us in the studio again. We're actually here by ourselves, so if anyone wants to come and hang out, we can probably sit around and order some pizzas. And no, okay, fine. But yeah, no, thank you to Playtech for letting us use the studio, and special thanks to Tom for getting the stream all set up for us and eventually getting the audio working. And yeah, we will. Podcasts are on, man. I mean, we're all set up. We're ready to go. Let's hit it. If you guys want to come, the main thing with this podcast, the undertone is mental health, right? But there's also a lot of other cool, interesting things to do and cool people to talk to. So if you're interested, you want to come and have a yarn, I mean, we're in Albany, if you know where Playtech physically the store is, that's where we're at. And yeah, we'd love to have a yarn with you, and we're really enjoying getting back into the podcast.
Also, Nick will give you a hug to the next person on this podcast that has a shirt better than mine.
I don't think there is a shirt better than that.
Correct.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again soon.